This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
I'm Jason Klaus. And over the course of my life, I've done a lot of different things, and I've worn a lot of different hats. But this may be my greatest endeavor yet. On this show, we are going to focus on life. We are going to focus on the basic fundamentals. We are going to focus on the silver lining. Because no matter what happens, no matter what is thrown our way, there is a silver lining. There is a lesson to be learned. Sometimes we just have to look a little bit harder, a little bit deeper for it. That's what this show is all about. Sometimes it's going to be rough, sometimes it's going to be raw, sometimes it may be hard to listen to, but it's something that you need to hear. This just got real.
And now, the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network presents its flagship show, the Klaus to the Heart podcast. Here is your host, Jason Klaus.
And we welcome you to the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network. You are listening to the Klaus to the Heart podcast. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. I'm calling something of an audible. I had an original topic in mind that I was going to do this week, and as it often happens, life is going to throw curveballs. And when that happens, more often than not, it's nothing that we really can prepare for. We just have to adapt to whatever is happening. That's the funny thing about life. It's going to do whatever the hell it wants to do, regardless of what we have planned, regardless of what our individual wants and hopes are. That's what puts things in perspective from time to time. I'm coming on here this week with a very heavy heart. And while I had one topic in mind, we're going to actually put that on the shelf until next week. And there's something very personally charged that I want to take some time here on this week's show to discuss, to talk about. For anybody who's listened to this show for any length of time, for anybody who tunes in and week out, you're going to pick up real quick. This is unlike what you would normally hear on the flagship show of this network. But it's also one of the things that established the foundation of the Klaus to the Heart podcast. We talk about real life. We talk about looking at the silver lining. We talk about maximizing our minutes. And that is very much going to be on display this week. Every once in a while, events occur that force us to reevaluate life, where we're at in it. Things that we once deemed important because of one thing or another, it's proven that in the grand scheme of things, it is completely inconsequential. And we spend so much time, effort, and energy on the wrong things. I don't need any more reminders of that personally. And anybody who knows my story knows why that's a thing. Anybody who knows my story knows why I, especially in this day and age, when it comes to time, I do not play. When it comes to maximizing our minutes, that's how I conduct my everyday. I focus on what is important in my life, and everything else is just a detail. We get so wrapped up in the hustle and bustle of life, our roles, our responsibilities, our what's expected of us, what we want, what we desire, what we need. Sometimes, man, you just got to hit the pause button and focus on what I have called for the last 5 years of launching this network, the basic fundamentals of life. It does not matter to me one way or the other how many followers you get. It doesn't matter to me how much money you've got in the bank. It doesn't matter to me any of that crap, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the person who you are to your core, that's who's going to be remembered. That's going to be the legacy that you leave when your time has come. When that final grain of sand drops through the hourglass of life. You feel me? We lose sight of that a lot, especially in like the way life is nowadays. It's we think because we have all these technological advantages to seemingly make our lives easier. It consumes every waking moment, consumes a lot of our thought process, consumes a lot of how we conduct ourselves in our day to day and with the people that we share that with. But every once in a while, man, life gives us a very sobering reminder that each and every one of us is on borrowed time. The bitch of it is that by and large, nobody knows when that time comes until it's here. A lot of times there's no preparation for it. And it completely knocks us down, knocks us to our knees. And we have to very quickly, in real time, get used to what is more often than not a new normal. Whether we're ready for it or not is irrelevant. There's a lot of people in this world. There are good people, there are bad people, there are people who come across our lives, our paths cross, that leave an indelible impression for one reason or the other. Now, for me, at this stage of life, and given everything that I've been a part of, I've been involved with. I take things a lot more seriously, and I make I make a very concentrated effort to every single day acknowledge the blessings in my life. I acknowledge the good people that I've had the absolute privilege to interact with on any level for any length of time. I say all that to say that in this world, in my experience, not just mine, there's a tremendous amount of people that are going to be able to relate to this. Because if I'm being 100% honest and transparent with you all, this is going to resonate with a very specific contingent of people. In this world, there are good men, and then there's Lou Crotteau. Let me provide a little bit of backstory, if I could. For my 7th and 8th grade in junior high, I attended Zemmer Junior High School in Lapeer, Michigan. Now, going to junior high school after spending the previous years of my school career in the small town of Hadley and Metamora for our 6th grade, there was a group of us, right? And as we get into the junior high years, we are met with people from all sorts of people that converge on that from different areas that we never knew, right? And it is generally in this time frame that cliques are formed among students based on what you look like, based on what you're wearing, based on if you're an athlete, based on if your interests are more of an academic nature, nerds as they were called back then, free thinkers. I had been picked on tremendously because I was a wrestling fan. Unapologetically, too, I might add. But it was something that I gravitated to, and that was the focal point of my life, of my future. And I got ridiculed for that, and I wasn't invited to be part of these cliques because of my fandom for that. Because back then, it wasn't nearly on the mainstream acceptable level that it is nowadays. If you were a wrestling fan, you were deemed a nerd, right? And you got treated as such. In 7th grade, I met Lou. And right out of the gate, man, like I knew this was somebody special. Right out of the gate, I knew that this guy was going to be somebody. And he was going to make an incredible difference on the world. I didn't know how. He just had it in him. Pardon me. Lou and I became really good friends during our school years. And during the junior high portion of it, you know, he was one of those guys I always looked forward to. Because I knew with him, you know, he never made me feel like an outsider. He never made me feel like it was wrong to like anything that I was involved in. In fact, he embraced it, he encouraged it. And even when, as kids of that age, like that resonated with me and it stuck with me all these years later. A lot of the stories that I tell, that I have told, like either to my kids or, colleagues, or if I'm doing some sort of speech or something like that, Lou is one of those guys that I referred to just because of the good-willed nature that he was to his core. And when we got into high school, which is a whole different animal unto itself, um, we attended Lapeer West High School back when Lapeer had two high schools, Lapeer West, Lapeer East. And where you lived on M24 determined which school you went to, right? Um, and with high school, then you take your class, you go into high school your freshman year, and you've got all these different people from all these different classes that we are now intermingled with. And you want to talk about cliques. They were more established and more expanded, you know. If you didn't fit in a particular clique, you were just kind of a floater. You just kind of bounced all over the place, just trying to get some sort of acceptance, try to form meaningful friendships. Now, for me, a lot of my closest friends were actually in the class ahead of me. But there were a few exceptions in my graduating class that were unwavering in our friendship, and Lou was one of those guys. When he made the football team, he became part of that society. And when you are part of the football team, like, you are held in higher regard. And if you weren't accepted by that group, you were looked down upon, at least from my experience. But the one thing about Lou is he never looked down on me. He never made me feel like I was less than. I acknowledged that during those years because it meant so much to me. I have always been dialed in on people's intentions. I have always been dialed in on what makes a person tick. And you would be hard pressed to find anybody more genuine, more sincere than Lou Crotteau. Throughout the course of our high school career, we remain good friends. And as life happens, when you graduate, his path took him one way, mine took me another, and we didn't really correspond a whole lot until Facebook became a thing. And then, we were Facebook friends, and from time to time he would send me a DM. I would have posted something at that time. I was a professional wrestler. I wound up becoming a professional wrestler. Started my own promotion. Built it from the ground up. And when that came across Lou's radar, I'll never forget the message that he sent me, the very first one he sent me, once we reconnected. He's like, I am so damn proud of you. I can't believe you did it. That will always resonate with me. He didn't have to do that. But he is also one of the few people that knew what my fandom was back, when I was a kid. So to have that kind of acknowledgement furthered my appreciation for him. And pardon me. when I lost my brother in 2020, um, he he tracked me down. He reached out, and it meant the world to me. Because it wasn't like I had forgotten about him. We just hadn't talked in a long, long time. But to know that he had taken the time to reach out to me, I'll never forget that. Less than a handful of years after we graduated in 1994, Lou married his high school sweetheart, his best friend, Tricia, who I also knew and appreciated and was friends with. Had classes together and stuff like that. And I always thought it was so cool that those two wound up as a couple. And you could really tell, and you can tell if you go on either one of their profiles, the strength of that relationship. Like that, those, you want to talk about relationship goals? That's it. On full display. It looked like he was living the life that I knew he was going to. For the last 30 years, 31 years, I think I may have read, he was a member of the Elba Township Fire Department, which I have a great appreciation for firefighters because some of the people that I had grown up with, thought the world of, had really tight relationships with, and they were part of the Alba Fire Department. So to see that Lou was a part of that, like that really, it was a perfect fit because he was a real life hero, at least to me. And just by conducting himself in a respectful manner, just by being a decent human, made him a superhero in my book. But like I've got all the respect in the world for firefighters. That is a unique bond. That is a unique brotherhood. There is a camaraderie within that dynamic that is unlike anything else. And unless you are a part of it, you really can't fully appreciate and find the right words to illustrate what all goes into that. These are real life heroes, superheroes. They don't wear capes. They wear oxygen tanks and helmets and masks, and they're going in to situations that people are desperately trying to run out of. And they're saving people's lives. So it was no surprise to me that Lou was a part of that. And his reach to the community and the people in it has been one of the most beautiful things to watch from the outside, you know. And it's not like it's anything that he would put out there, hey, this is what I'm doing. This, I'm going to go help do this and I'm going to go do that. And he never, like, from my estimation, like that just wasn't him. He didn't need to put that spotlight on himself because the work he was doing and the lives he was reaching and touching and saving did that for him. So I was stunned one night when I logged on to Facebook to check notifications and messages from uh, some of the other shows that we have here on the network. I don't generally scroll the news feed because I have a love-hate relationship with social media in general. I think a lot of it is disingenuous. I think a lot of it gives people a platform to portray themselves in a way that is a stark contrast to what they really are, just in an effort to make themselves feel better. So I just kind of shy away from all that bullshit. I want no part of that. But when you log on to Facebook, it whether you want to or not, like, you get to see the first couple of things on the news feed. And I saw a post from Trisha, Lou's wife, that she was taking him, or had to make the call to get him some medical attention because he was experiencing some chest pain, something going on, health wise, that was quite alarming. We just didn't realize at that time how alarming it was. I'm not going to sit here and go through the timeline of everything. That's not my place. That's not my story to tell. But what ultimately winds up happening is Lou had suffered a massive heart attack. And despite best efforts, a lot of prayers, a lot of support, a lot of hope, it was something that would ultimately take him. Now, when I had initially seen the post, I'm like, oh, well, this is not good. And bless her heart, Trisha would add live video updates. So at that point, I was logging into Facebook specifically to find out what was happening with my longtime friend. And I'll be honest with you, I thought this was going to be one of those things where, yeah, this knocked him down, but he's going to kick out of it. He's going to come back on the other side of this thing, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be a road to recovery, but if anybody can do it, it's this guy. Unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. And with that, the world lost a great man. My heart is absolutely broken for his family, his wife, his 3 children, friends, colleagues, brothers, anybody that had the privilege of knowing him. And it's things like this that really puts the importance of life on full display. And when we start to take that for granted, and we all do it, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you are, we all do it at some point. We take life for granted. We take people in our lives for granted. But this is one of those things, man, where it is a stark reminder that just when you think you've got it all figured out and everything is trending in the right direction, and we get a source of comfort, life is going to come around and smack us right upside the head. There was a lot of good men in this world, but there was only one Lou Crotteau. And reading the testimonials, the tributes in the last week, several days, it's not a surprise to me. that he is being remembered in the way that he is. And I wanted to take some time this week to pay my own tribute to my friend in a platform that I have control over. I had tried several times to write something out and post it on Facebook, and I just couldn't get the words out because a lot of it is still met with some degree of disbelief. Like, things like this shouldn't happen to men like Lou. But it does. We don't know why. We don't know why people are taken when they are at that time. And for those who are affected, for those who are experiencing this tremendous loss, that's one of the questions that we often ask ourselves. Why did this happen? Now, I'm not generally someone that speaks a whole lot about my religious beliefs, especially in a public forum, because that just opens up the possibility for a lot of dissension. I believe in what I believe, and that's the end of it. I don't really feel like I need to justify that with anybody. I don't need to defend that with anybody. What I believe is what I believe, based on my experiences, based on my feelings. And if you're not a believer in God, heaven, or anything of that nature, that's your prerogative. But I don't need you to tell me that what I think and feel is wrong. But I'm here to tell you, and I'll go ahead and say it on this show right now. I do believe there is a God, and I do believe that there is heaven. And for whatever reason, God needed Lou on that day. Selfishly, we all wish that wasn't the case. Anytime we lose somebody that is important to us or that has made that indelible impression, we ask why? Why? And then you're angry. You're heartbroken, right? Until sometime down the line, something happens, and it will. Sometimes you just got to open your eyes to it. Quit shutting everything down and questioning everything to try to make sense out of everything, because not everything is going to make sense. We don't have all the answers. The answers come when they're supposed to, and not a moment before. Could be next week, it could be in the next decade. But the answer will come as to why this has been a thing. In the meantime, at least the way I do it, like I have sat here and I have reflected on my friendship with this man. I have read so many heartfelt tributes and testimonials to how this man affected people's lives for the better. And it makes me so damn proud to have been a small part of his amazing life. In the process of all this, a meme came across my radar that kind of ties everything in here. And I'm going to get to that here in just a moment. But before I do, I just wanted to say to Trisha and to their 3 children just how incredibly sorry I am for the loss of your husband, of your father, to the Elba Fire Department, the loss of your brother. to those who have had the privilege of knowing Lou. I'm just so sorry that all of this has happened. This is those times in life where we sit here and we're like, life's not fair. And a lot of times we look at it and it's just not fair. Why does God take somebody as special, as wonderful like Lou, but I gotta be real careful about how I say this, because this is generally a rated M show, and I'm trying very, very hard to keep this in a PG format here, out of respect. But it gets infuriating when you see other people who are less than stellar they seemingly get the easy street. But then I'm reminded that the thing called karma is definitely going to come around to those individuals. That day is coming. I take some degree of peace with that. So what I want to say is I would implore every single person that's watching this on Spotify or YouTube, anybody that's listening on the RSS feed or through iTunes or iHeartRadio or wherever it is that you're listening to this, take a moment today, hit the pause button, put your phone down, and in some way, shape, or form, show the people in your life how much they mean to you and how much you appreciate them, because you never know when you won't have that opportunity again. I'm telling you from personal experience. Just about every single person that's listening to this has undergone some degree of loss like this. So why is it that we got to wait until something like this happens to show other people in our lives how much they mean to us and how much we appreciate their presence? I don't do that anymore. I almost feel bad for, we have a fellow graduate from Lapeer West in our graduating class, Brian Clark. Brian and I have reconnected over Facebook and things of this nature, and this dude um, goes out of his way periodically, quite well, more than that, frequently, to send me a message that lets me know that my presence in his life means something, and vice versa. Like that means everything to me. But that's something that I've been doing for a minute here, because, as I said, I've gone through pretty significant losses in a relatively short amount of time, so I can wholeheartedly understand the emotions that go into this type of situation or scenario. But man, this one hit different, it just really hit different. So while I was reflecting, this meme had come across my radar. I actually saved it, and I want to share it because I feel like it can be incorporated into what we're talking about right now. It says this: people wait all day for 5 p.m., all week for Friday, all summer for winter, all winter for summer, and all of life for happiness. Don't let the pursuit of tomorrow diminish the joy of today. Because we're all the time looking ahead. We're all the time thinking that we've got all the time in the world to do everything that we want, right? You don't. If you're having a crap day and you're just thinking, God, if I can just get to 5 o'clock, everything will be all right. Once I clock out, I don't have to worry about that. I can put that to bed. We wake up on Monday. Like, man, is it Friday yet? Well, brother, you got a handful of days ago and a lot of time in between that before you get to Friday. Season to season. Like, we're all the time looking ahead. And while we're looking ahead, we're not taking the time to focus on what's in front of us here and now. The people that are with us here and now. So I implore you, as fast as life moves nowadays, and even though it's been deemed to be almost of a nuisance to stop and focus on the here and now because we're so worried about what's coming up, I don't subscribe to that. It's okay to hit the pause button. I do it all the time now. Drives people nuts too, I don't mind telling you, but you want to know something? I would rather them know how I feel about them and where they are in my life and annoy them than to wait till a time where it's more convenient, quote unquote, and then them not be here for me to tell them that. You feel me? Every single day, we should stop and acknowledge the blessings that we have here and now, and more often than not, right in front of our face, that we don't acknowledge, that we don't take the time to see because we're too busy looking beyond them. We're too busy looking ahead to tomorrow. We're too busy worrying about what's next. Don't worry about what's next. Look at what's here. That's what's important. And I'm telling you, do not wait until situations like this arise for that to come into crystal clear focus. Because by that time, there's another emotion that gets brought to the table, and it's regret. And let me tell you from personal experience, that is not a fun emotion to live with. So it's okay to hit the pause button. It's okay to tell life, I'm taking a minute and focus on what's truly important. And what's truly important are the moments that are right in front of you and the people that you share them with. Because every single one of us is on borrowed time. Take a moment and let your people know today how important and precious they truly are. With that, we're going to put a bow on this week's episode. And again, I just want to send my heartfelt condolences to the Crotteau family, to the friends, to the people that Lou made such an indelible impression on, such a difference, positive difference, the kind of difference that lets people know that there are still good people in this world. And the best ones don't go out clamoring or asking for the spotlight. The spotlight just gravitates towards them. And that's as organic as it gets. I'm not going to do any of the cheap plugs for any other thing that we got going on here this week or with the network. If you are interested in that, all I will say is check us out on our social media accounts and pfcnetwork.net. If any of you would like to come on the show next week and share any kind of stories or memories or testimonials about Lou, I am more than happy to clear the schedule and to bring you on the show. You can send me a message directly to my Facebook page or the Close to the Heart or PFC Entertainment Network Facebook pages, and we will definitely make that happen. Until then, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you next week right here on the Close to the Heart podcast, the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network.